What if the reason why your chiropractic clinic is invincible to Google and not visible to AI isn't your marketing strategy? What if it's the lack of proof, the lack of results? Well, in today's episode, I actually interviewed one of the most interesting people and I had one of the most inspiring conversations I have ever had on the podcast. His name is Tristan, aka Twisty, and him and his company, the project that he's building is literally trying to solve that exact problem. Towards the end of the conversation, it gets extremely exciting for me when he starts telling me all the things that is coming up in the AI space with chiropractic and the infrastructure they're building. So guys, you have to stay until the end. Now, let's get back to the show. Welcome back to the Practice Speed podcast. Today's guest is Tristan, aka Twisty, and I'm going to ask Twisty to keep it, how do I say this? Authentic and spicy. Does that sound about right?
The swearing's cool.
Awesome. So we just started rolling, and you're going to tell me about, I guess, you not being a chiropractor, but having a lot to do with chiropractic. So what's the backstory? What's the origin story
I
for
mean,
you,
I,
sir?
I can't be a chiropractor because the risk of me going to chiropractic school and getting my degree and getting actually licensed is very, very low because I have a felony in America for some criminal activity in my 20s. So
Oh, wow.
I laugh about it now, but it was one of the best gifts that ever was given to me. But I grew up in a chiropractic family, dude. I mean, for people who don't know the story, my grandparents met in chiropractic school in New York City, and many of you have seen the photos of professors being let out in handcuffs. And my grandmother and grandfather were in one of those classes. They were literally live in one of those classes in New York City. And my grandmother turned around to my grandfather and goes, "Hey, Bill, this looks really interesting. We should stick around, you know?" Instead of being scared away, which gives you all the DNA flavor of the Schaub family, libertarian, we don't pay taxes, we fight for what we believe.
Dude,
We'll
love
piss
it.
people off, but like that was my grandfather built my grandfather grandmother built a clinic in upstate New York. They built multiple practices. They tried every 10 years to work together, and they discovered every 10 years you're better off over here. You're better off over here. My grandfather gave adjustments that made you want to go poop. My grandmother gave you adjustments that made you go to sleep. And my grandfather had a knee extremity adjustment. They were rank mixers. Although my grandfather did not like in the political world of the United States the ACA, which was the American Chiropractic Association, because he saw what they were trying to do it in the time in the 60s and 70s. He didn't agree with it. But he was a rank mixer, if you will. They went back in the 1960s to get their masters, and both of them together get their masters in clinical nutrition because they found over the last 30 years, from 1930s to 1960s, that although their work and craftsmanship was getting better as it should, because it's practice, right? Their adjustments weren't holding like they were in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Well, what happened in the 60s in America was the FDA was formed, or the FDA was formed in the 1900s, but the 1960s is when it really peaked in American soil, and the soil was changed, and we
The
saw
topsoil.
the topsoil was changed and food was so my grandparents were already ahead of it. No, I mean they just knew like the world was becoming, that was when the point when the world we were becoming more toxic and it was harder to adjust people. I mean, chiropractors talk about this after, like, you guys, like in the United States, dude, ask any chiropractor what it's like to adjust people during like Thanksgiving and Christmas time. And you're like, dude, you are inflamed as fuck, you know?
Okay, so
So
so so your I didn't know this. So your grandparents are chiropractors, and you said your dad built a practice as well.
my dad went to National, which in America, some really great legends went to National, like Jim Sigafus.
Wow.
But it usually gets shit on because it's the most medically inclined. Like that, you have to learn how to deliver a baby at National versus the other schools. And it's in Chicago, so he wanted to be in a cool city. He sold shoes while he was going to, and he was doing massage on the side while he went to school. And then in the 80s, he built, multi-million dollar practice consulting business. He was a Parker guy. My grandparents were Parker people. I was a Parker kid. I was going to Parker seminars since I was 8 or 9 on a regular rotation. Um, Became a certified CA through Parker when I was 19. Yeah, my dad had a multi-million dollar practice in the 90s, and then he got bit by a brown recluse spider. And some of the greatest tragedies, like we were talking behind the scenes, I went to jail for a felony in San Francisco in my 20s, and most people look at that as like the worst thing that can happen to you, and it's going to derail you. It was actually a door opening. My father getting bit by a brown recluse spider turned him into possibly one of the best chiropractors from a technician standpoint, because he was always philosophically inclined, but make no doubt about it, he's probably a flying 780s, 90s chiropractor who built a multi-million dollar clinic that was efficient and effective, and people got well. But when he got really sick and he really leaned into, I'm going to go see my Atlas orthogonal chiropractor, I'm going to go see my network chiropractor, it became a team to keep him alive. That's when he was like, holy shit, like what we have here is truly amazing. And now he's one of those guys like David Fletcher. Like I always think of David Fletcher and my father and those, they're very lean, kind of almost you would think they're gay if you didn't know they weren't straight and had and loved beautiful women. It's that northeast, like almost Toronto, upstate New York kind of like they dress very classy. I love David Fletcher. I love Insight. I love anything that you can check anything to prove what you're doing. But they're the guys that you stand around at seminars and you're the ones that watch them adjust. But they're also the guys that don't do it from a peacocking standpoint, right? They're not like, I'm doing it for a show. People just gravitate to go and see. What are you doing with that AK model of diagnosing and checking? And now my father, this is a testament to who he is and his skill set, and proves that you can do whatever you want and design whatever you want as a chiropractor as long as you know what your standards are. He lives in Mexico. He retired to Mexico. He's never going to stop. He has a small practice down there, and I mean by small, like daily people knocking on his door. Hey, can I see you, doc? Because word got out that a great chiropractor was there. But he goes back to upstate New York every 3 months and sees about 120, 150 people. Sends a text out to maybe 12, 14 people. I'm coming back. I'll be there for 2, 3 weeks. My mom and him, my mom who does energy medicine as well, goes up and they work on people for 2 to 3 weeks. He makes more money than he did when he was seeing people on a regular basis in upstate New York. They wait for him. They bring new people to him. And he goes back to Mexico and he does his thing. And
That's
awesome.
insane.
Yeah, so
That's
there's the
awesome.
story. Yeah.
No, I mean, you are like an incredibly interesting blend between, because people don't even, people in the UK probably don't know much about your involvement with your current projects that we're going to talk about in a minute. But I think it's always nice to,
I'll say a lot of people in UK do remember Cairo sushi though. There's probably a lot like we had a big foundation of UK people because UK people, you guys have great senses of humor. So Cairo sushi was born out of like, let's just fucking make fun of this shit we call chiropractic, but also protect it at the same time.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's amazing what you're doing for the profession, but especially for the younger generation of chiropractors graduating now and stuff. I think it's important for them to know like where you originate from. We interviewed um, Dr. Stuart Burnson on the podcast a couple of
Yeah.
times, and you kind of people think that you're just born a leader and you're this amazing person who's got discipline, and that happens with time. And I'm just so curious. Your dad had a practice, grandparents were chiropractors. You are not allowed to be a chiropractor, but what's your other story in terms of Silicon Valley and technology
Yeah.
and
Well, I didn't want to be a chiropractor. I mean, everything that everything now in my 40s, and I'm going, fuck, this motherfucker was right. Time management, efficiency, effectiveness. My dad was a master delegate. I mean, he had hand signals in the car when we would drive up 95 miles an hour from Cortland, New York to Syracuse, Manlius, New York to his practice. And my dad smoked. And this is a thing behind the scenes. There's a lot of chiropractors that smoke that people wouldn't admit it. And when we held our event in Las Vegas, Kairos Sushi, the first Kairos Sushi Summit, there was a lot of young docs
Which was when?
walking.
When was the first? Do you
That was the
remember?
2017 in Las Vegas.
Okay.
And we had Grant Cardone there as our main keynote speaker. And the second year was we doubled. We had almost 400 people there the second year. We had Brian Tracy, we had Tom Bilyeu, we had Tucker Max, we had uh, JP
Big names.
Sears. What's it? Yeah, it was huge, man. I mean, Kairos Sushi Summit and Summer Camp, as we called it, eventually was I went to Parker last year the first time in 20 years, and I'm sitting there with Robert Kipp at the bar. Robert Kipp's the MC for the weekend, and I'm trying to get him fired by getting him drunk every night. And if you heard his voice by the end of Saturday of last year, barely holding up, it was because of me. And I
Guilty.
said to him, I said, hey man, I think we didn't win the battle because when we started Kairos Sushi, it was actually kind of as everything I'll ever launch has a chip on your shoulder. Like you have to have a chip on your shoulder. You can't bleed into your heart because then you just fucking like take it on too much. But just enough chip on your shoulder. And Parker was just enough because we were a Parker family and we saw before William Morgan came on. And this was an interesting time before William Morgan came on and right after Fabrizio left, it was a fucking shit show. They were kicking chiropractors out of the vendor area for adjusting people. My dad got kicked out for adjusting someone in a vendor area. And it was just got weird. And so my dad came to me. He was in the Cayman Islands. He's like, fuck these guys. Um, and then he also met a chiropractor that was working for DHL in the Cayman. He's like, "Why are you working? Why aren't you in practice? Oh, I can't make money. I can't grow my practice."
That was your dad saying that?
No, that was the guy he met
Oh,
in the Cayman Islands who was working for DHL, who is a chiropractor who just graduated only a couple of years ago from I think Logan or something. And so those two things sparked us to start Cairo Sushi. I was living so Cairo Sushi was born to like become let's bring Parker back. Let's bring the like this cool and what Parker was really known for was bringing outsiders in, big names. And I remember sitting at the bar with Robert Kipp and I go, "Dude, you guys are now you're bringing fucking Draymond, you're bringing Gary V, you got
Grant
Stephen Bartlett."
Cardone.
Yeah, yeah. I think I go, not to, my ego needs feeding every now and then. I go, this moment it did. And he's like, dude, he goes, you sparked them. I go, some little startup dude who had, this is an institution with nonprofit money and that's been around for years and has 75 years. Congratulations to them this year. And here is me in year two going, I got Brian Tracy on his last ever speaking. We got Tucker Max. We got JP Sears. We got Tom Bilyeu. I mean, the names just kept rolling on. Cute Blackson, and the following years, JP, Jay Abraham, Roger Stone was my favorite one that because he became a coach of mine after
Wow.
that. But anyway, Silicon Valley. Didn't want to become a chiropractor. Fought rebel. I was actually wanted to be Noel Gallagher in Oasis, and I wanted to be a rock and roll star. And it was around the early 2000s, which is the worst time that anyone ever could have wanted to be around because it just all changed. Everything changed from the internet to like, dude, I was going down to New York City to play clubs, and by the time I got there, like the second week, they're like, we're shifting to karaoke and hip hop, and we just saw the change happen. As I was going down tour of East Coast, and I was getting like shut down on like gigs that we already had planned the year before and it was just an interesting time. So I had to pivot my life, and I ended up moving to San Francisco
And
with my
you're
ex.
how old at that stage?
I was 23.
Also, you're still super young.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was working for AT&T, dude. I was selling phones. I was the number one salesman in New York State for selling phones. People thought I cheated because I did.
What made you
Uh,
number one?
uh, up because people are fucking lazy. So back in the day, people might remember this. You would go into the cell phone store and there'd be a billing machine that you could go and pay your bill. And you go put your cash, check, whatever, credit card at that time. And we'd have four stations. And typically you walked into an AT&T store, you'd be like, where is everyone? Well, everyone was in the back smoking, fucking around, grabbing each other's asses like in the back rooms. And I got into to wireless like mobile technology about 5 years after like the big like dude 5 years before in 1997, 98, all those years they were making almost $1 million in sales because it was they were pushing like phones and plans so hard and these salesmen were warriors. They're probably the best in the 90s of like sales. If you were in any space, it was just like car sales used to be. Like it was not deemed a shitty job. You could make a $500,000, $1 million in the 90s selling. But anyways, I would go out to the fucking um I would stay out in the front and I'd be like, hey, don't do that machine. Don't use that machine. It takes forever. Come over here. I can take your bill. Pull up their fucking bill. Do you got a Do you have a teenage daughter? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I can tell, man. Dude, your texting is like over like $20 extra. Let me just put this plan on there. So that was how you made money in the early 2000s with cell phones. It was just get them on different plans. That's why everyone was like, I just changed my plan and saved money. No, you didn't. You just got a value add from Tristan. And I would make dude, I was making for 21, 22-year-old dude single and just rocking it in upstate New York. I was going to the bar every night and just being like $500 on me. Everyone drink because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I was doing and how much I was making in upstate New York in the early 2000s, like almost $250,000 selling phones.
As a tool. I wonder what was the actual lessons that you learned that helped you like now and with the tech side and sales is always a big one, right?
I'm going to give credit where credit's due. And this goes back to close. I got to give it love and shout out to Close for Cairo because it's about systems and AT&T singular at the time. If you got hired by them, they flew you out to the most closest hub training. So I went to Albany, New York, which I didn't have to fly. I drove, but normally they fly people in. And for 2 weeks, you're in a hotel with all the new hires, and they put you through mystery shop boot camp.
Whoa, I
And
love
I'm
that.
like, they just literally give you every day you're training on how to get 100% mystery shop from the first interaction of I'm looking for to upgrade my phone or I'm coming over from Verizon, whatever it was. And I kept the sheets. So everyone was like, dude, and so I got two, no one ever got in the 1 year 100% mystery shops, but I was fucking cheating because I just had the fucking sheet. You just go
The
through the
blueprint.
sheet. Yeah, the blueprint, literally, dude. And I'm like, well, that's what they design. And they train you 2 weeks, like boot camp style. And to me, when I bring on people for any of my programs like sales, I believe in that. Like, let's just go and role play. The same thing happened when I went to Silicon Valley and I got involved with John Sun Kim. John Sun Kim is the creator of 5 9. 5 9 he built with, multiple credit cards in a fucking shitty San Francisco apartment and now he's a unicorn fucking founder, publicly traded $1 billion company. Anyone and everyone knows 5 9 because it was the innovation of cloud um call centers. Cloud call centers was what the disruption was.
Hmm.
And we met in San Francisco after I got arrested and I went to a bad boys program for drugs, alcohol, and anger, and all this cool stuff. Because I got in a bar fight in San Francisco and smashed a dude's head into the bar 11 times because that was not a nice thing to do, but he was also not doing some very nice things with some people. So, I took it on the chin and I went to San Francisco bad boy camp. And I was very lucky because I ended up at this service called LGBT Family Services, and this 6'10" transgender woman named Jenny Lake opened her door to me and said, "Hey, honey, you're in the right place. You're so welcome here." And I, being just a shit who just got through, 17 days in jail, not shitting. I did not shit for 17 days, bro. Got out. had a Newport cigarette. Uh, Went to Hardee's to get a disgusting hamburger and took the biggest shit of my life. And then immediately went a couple hours later to this program to sign up because I had to go weekly for this program for all this stuff. And Jenny, Jenny's the first week we're watching Eckhart Tolle videos, and then we're watching Sid Banks stuff, and she's talking about thought, mind, consciousness, and I'm going, motherfucker, I can't ever get away from chiropractic. Because to me, this is like innate wisdom stuff. It's like all it was the mind base of the universal principles. And all of a sudden, I'm like, well, I know this stuff. 3 months later, I'm one of the teachers, and
In the same
less
program.
in the same program, and then less than a year later, she was living there on Ninth Street, and me in my capitalistic entrepreneurship was like, this should be bigger. This should be taught. As I grew up, I thought chiropractic should be taught in schools to children. I went the same thing. Like this is where my innocence and like purity comes out. Where I'm like, this is the biggest thing ever, and we should make it the biggest thing ever. And in less than a year, I'm sitting at probation. I come into the San Francisco probation department meeting, which is with all these programs that are court approved. And my probation officer's there. She goes, "What are you doing here?" I go, "Oh, I'm with Jenny." She goes, "You can't be here. You're on probation." And I go, "Well, I own. We rebranded it called Avaka Wisdom Institute. I own it with Jenny." And the head of the San Francisco Arturo, this little Mexican guy is like, "Well, I don't. There's nothing in the books about this. We built the first ever court approved streaming classroom for drug, alcohol, anger management, and other things that could be court approved. I cold called every like little podunk town and said, "Do you have a program for people?" And the ones that said no, I said, "You do now, and it's court approved by San Francisco, the premier city for court approved programs." And we had people from Alaska. We had vets who were army people in America are always getting arrested for like bar fights and
Mm.
drug and alcohol stuff. And we built that to a $3 million business in a year and a half, sold it back. We sold it to the San Francisco city government. And I met John Kim. I forget where I met John, but John was building something called Doctor Base, and he had three other guys, and he was looking for someone to help out with customer success who had a background in in being with practices, working with what he called Lindas, which were typically we were focused on dental office managers. And John was building the first kind of ever. It was doctor based, Smile Reminder, and Demand Force. These are companies back in the day. This is before Review Wave and Sked that were automating Google reviews, automating text and email reminders. And John was looking for a couple other dudes to be co-founders and help build it out from different departments. And my job at that time was customer success. And they were such a good team to me because you got to remember, I was on the last year of my probation by the time I moved over to this because I was on a 5-year probation, and I was married at the time. And my ex-wife apparently decided to go hook up with an even better criminal who was on the U.S. Marshals list, who was her ex-boyfriend from high school, and left me one night.
Oh,
And
dude, I'm sorry to hear
and
that.
and I'm going, okay, my world's crumbling down. I thought everything was coming back together. I moved back to New York State and hooked up with our maid of honor, who was her best friend. Had a summer of just what the fuck is going on. And my probation officer calls me and goes, you still got 3 months left on your probation. I was now not in any probation meetings. It was just kind of check-in stuff. But apparently I couldn't leave the state still. And so she's like, you got to come back. And so I'm like, okay, I'll fly back tomorrow. And I fly back tomorrow. And they're like, you got to show up to court now because you left the state. And I show up to court and they're like, arrest me right in court. and they put me back in jail, and for 4 months, because I violated my probation leaving San Francisco. And
What a crazy. I did
yeah,
not realize that you've lived like 7 lives in.
and then John and the team at Doctor Base were like, dude, 4 months later, we moved on, but you have a home here. I lived with John for the last couple months. They extended my probation out, lived with him till I could get back to New York, and I ran sales. And John was like, "You're even better at sales than you were at because we were doing a hat trick a day. We were selling 3 accounts a day." And then he's like, can you scale this and train this out?" But I got to give credit to John because it was John who made me one of the best salesmen. Because when he's like, "We have no other choice but to put you in sales. You got to have to do cold calls because we don't have any leads." All our business was built on KOLs, key opinion leaders, so presidents of like plastic surgery society, presidents of dental societies,
Mhm, mhm.
which I still believe in. I mean, a huge portion of how I build businesses is through relationships. But the hey, just pick up the fucking phone and call people, which everyone has said has been dead for over 50, 60 years at that point in time. Dude, I was cold calling chiropractors and I'd just be like, dude, you need this. And I keep them on the phone and sold another one, sold another one, sold another one. So we were starting to build with chiropractors. And
Ah, so that's how it kind of translated from.
I can't get away from it, man. I can't get away from it. So, my dad was one of the first clients that we had in the chiropractic space. And we proved, oh, look at this. This is back in the day that, dude, Google reviews were so damn important. How old are you?
I'm 38 this year.
Okay. So, you're not that far off. But back in 2008, 9, 10, we were at the forefront of Google really becoming the thing for healthcare providers, and we are particularly working with dentists and plastic surgeons at Doctor Base. And patient communication was like not even a thing yet, like text reminders for appointments. So we started building that out. So we would sell the sizzle. You want new patients, and but what kept them was, yeah, I'm getting new patients, but I'm keeping the ones that I had, and they're showing up for their appointments and all this kind of stuff. And it was so vital back then in in chiropractic dentistry, especially in plastic surgery. If you got a 1 star, I knew a dentist in San Francisco. I knew him; he was a client who got a 1 star review on Google, and he jumped off the Golden State Bridge because that's how important. And he got negative reviews on Yelp, and so there's this bridge now. Like 20 years later, my chip on my shoulder, as I was talking about, I've been for 20 years trying to say, how the fuck do I beat Yelp? And that's where chiropractic results was born because I sat back the last 2 years and said, I could sell you a course on how to do AI, and 95% of you who buy it won't do fucking shit with it because that's what happens with every course.
I think
And
there's like correct me if I'm wrong, but because funny enough, I have a few platforms where we teach people stuff, and there's a 4% completion rate on a course.
5% was what I heard. So we were right around, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so, and the good on the ones that complete it. That shows you the cream rises to the top. But I was like, hey, I'm gonna become the old man yelling at the kids on the grass, going, "Stay off my lawn," or I gotta figure out how do I really help docs. And it just hit me, and I'm like, dude, the Yelp of results. All AI needs to be fed is machine data. All it wants to be fed is more unique user generated, validated trust signal, schema structured content. What's more reliable than schema structured content than fucking results? It's all data. How can we validate and do trust signals? Okay, let's test this out. I have about 50 CMO clients, one on one private clients that I either train or manage their marketing internally, digitally, and physically in the United States, mostly the United States. Um, and I was like, I went to like my 20 OGs and said, "Can I just test this out in the summer?"
Well, the was is when is this
This is the
taking place?
summer of last year. This last year, I said, "Can I test this out? Can I build? I'm going to just build this platform. I'm going to test this out, and I don't know. I don't know if it's going to work. I have a theory.
And your prediction is that because you have to understand, especially here in the UK, I think I was telling you before the show, we are dinosaurs when it comes to technology, and
Yeah.
especially in the chiropractic world. Your prediction is if I'm a patient who wants a answer about, let's say, my back pain and sciatica, that
Yep.
in the future, I'm more likely to be using an answer that AI generates instead of the old school CEO type
Well,
SEO.
If you were at Parker in Vegas, Gary Vee talked the first 30 minutes, I had people message me, is he doing a commercial for chiropractic results right now? Because he just talked about the futures now. It's happening now. I mean, we saw every month I'm seeing it's like a virus because that's how things work, man. They every market and you know you're going to see this in your backyard where London's probably already there, meaning 70% of probably Londoners don't even use Google. They're using Gemini, ChatGPT, some type of AI program to basically ask them, what should I do? That's where 2008 to 2015, when I was at Doctor, when we built Doctor Base, was all about word of mouth, was yellow star reviews. That's what word of mouth became. 2015 to 2025, word of mouth was social recommendations, mom Facebook groups.
Google
It's still
reviews,
there.
testimonials.
But now it's like, guess who my best friend in the water cooler, the water, that's how old I sound, but it's the truth. Because that's the old line that we used to use. Because when you would go to work and you talk shit and you ask for things, we call it the water cooler. And so the water cooler conversation is now a robot who's going to ask you more. This is the difference between then and now. Then it was, who's the best chiropractor near me? And you get the list from Google, which is where 90% of people found their shit. Now it's AI summaries. If you still go to Google, which is 70% dropped in a lot of markets, if you're still on Google, it's going to go to Gemini, which is just like every other AI platform. And here's what AI platforms are going to do. Here's what you were looking for, but we have more questions for you. Were you looking for someone who does instrument adjusting or is focused on manual adjusting? Do you want someone who takes your insurance? They're doing sales because what is great sales? Asking better, more questions. And
Interesting.
so my theory was all they want is clear, concise, structured schema data. And when I looked at what was working for AI, because the cool thing about AI versus old school SEO is it shows you the sources. It's right there, which is beautiful for us because I can show every day to our people. Look at all. Here's two words that people are going to be normalizing in the next 2 years: sourcing and sediment. How are you source? How's your sourcing, bro? And what's your sediment? And you're going to be like, dude, my sediment's over 60%, and my sourcing, we're over 100 sources a month at least. Meaning that bots are crawling, sourcing,
Mm.
pulling the information from around the web. And here's the cool thing, like we rank on Google for chiropractic results on local based searches, word of mouth reputation searches, which are hugely vital. I'll get into in a second. Due diligence searches, if you will. Condition based searches, which was one of my biggest things. Like when we started testing this, and I'm going, it's fucking working. It's like a scientist in a lab, and I was like stoked. I'm like, look at all that
But
sourcing.
what were your like what was the I don't have even the terminology to explain myself, but I hope it makes sense.
Yeah.
What were the initial early signals when you say it was
Sources,
working?
sourcing. All we're seeing is if we looked and said, who are the top providers in neuropathy in Carmel, Indiana? And it's starting to show Nexus Neuro, Dr. Matt Schulke. And then you look at the sourcing. Why? Chiropractic results. This clinic has a 92% success rate. Hey, who's the best chiropractor in Bolingbrook, Illinois? Bolingbrook Family Chiropractic. Where's their sourcing? Chiropractic results. So if you look in chat, Gemini, Claude, at the bottom or the right, there's this thing called sort. It's the
Ah.
map. It's literally the DNA of why did they very fastly come to this assumption and recommendation. And then you'll see the other questions related at the bottom. So it just is another extension of search, turning search into conversation. And here's all the reasons why. And so we built with the idea that if you give it trusted signals, you give it structured data, yes, it's going to still look at Yelps and health grades and your Google reviews, but we started training AI engines to read our data through JSON schema. So like I'm like this is code word stuff for and there's nerdy people that would listen and go, "Oh shit, that makes sense." Hey, you should check out the reviews, but also check out their results. Don't results matter?
Isn't this like, sorry to interrupt, isn't this like solving more than one problem? Because in the UK, chiropractic has always been, there's more studies needed, but there's no money to do research. So I'm like, guys, I cannot read the textbook to say to you that we can help with X, Y, and Z, but I see it in clinic every single week.
Yeah.
So
You've
you're like,
already
in a
done the
way,
work. You've already
yeah.
done the work. You've done the research. It turns every outcome into a case study. We're Stu, who I hired in the summer to be my mentor, advisor, consultant, uh, wise man, if you will, the Paul Heyman wise man role of my life. Because I said I also made this. I have to scale this. And one thing, dude, I've helped build and be. I've been the Stedman to everyone else's Oprah for years on building their scalable. This is my first ever. Hey, this is me,
This is your baby,
CEO.
right?
This is my baby. It's gonna go my way or the highway. It's my fucking. It's my dictatorship for my 40s and 50s. After that, then in my 50s, I'll consult and mentor again and do the cycle of life. Like that's what, but
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is my, and I remember John Kim teaching me that like in your 40s, in your 20s and 30s, your 20s, you die for other people. The 30s, you start figuring out how to not kill yourself while helping other people. And your 40s are really for like, this is my time to shine. And you know who figured that out years and years and years ago is Napoleon Hill. Like you're done chasing pussy. You're happy and married. You don't have to do it. You're done trying to kill yourself. I've tried every fucking dude. I've tried every drug and every combination of drugs, and I'm still alive. And there's pussies out there that are too afraid to do it. And I'll tell you, man, it was good. It was good. It was fun.
No
There's a
regrets.
reason why you do it. But it was just I we yes to answer your question, we solving research. 30% of patients, especially for high ticket issues, POTS, cervical instability, neuropathy, um, things that
Decompressions, like all the,
not so much that stuff, the low back pain, hernia, but you know anything that would be surgery related. Yeah, so like spinal stenosis. I call those high ticket because those are the no hope, no dope problems. They've been told by the allopathic world, here's a drug, and that's all your hope you got. And what's happened in the last, 6 years, especially post COVID, is you got partners and spouses. I am that partner and spouse. I met my wife who had a terrible autoimmune disease, who was butchered by the medical allopathic world, who was told it's just this steroids and this drug, and you just got to deal with whatever it is that you have. And I said, that ain't how we fucking roll in my family. I go, we're gonna find the doctor who had this disease, and I found two of them, and both of them helped my wife get to 99% no symptoms
wow.
with what they have. And I was saying this, the greatest gift to any doctor, I believe. It's sad to say, but like my dad got sick. I think that getting sick sometimes, going to jail, you either find the opportunities out there or you fucking swallow up and die. And we now live in this world where you can go and I remember my ex got colon cancer, and we went, and I was against her getting chemo. We had a med spa practice in Oxnard, California, and it was the largest solo provider med spa practice or liposuction clinic. So female owned liposuction clinic. We were putting $80,000 in cash underneath our bed every fucking month, and then fighting and throwing that money at each other when we get in fight. Because I was 28 at the time, she was 58, 30 years older than me, and we were just building a huge money fucking bucket of lipo and Botox and all this shit. And she got sick with colon cancer because we're going so hard, I believe. And we went to like three different. We went to Cedar Sinai. We went to UCLA. We went to all like the places that have the nice like the names. And they all told me different. Well, there's a 30% chance of reoccurrence. There's a 50%. There's an 80%. Everyone had different stats and data. Everyone was just selling chemo. Like, dude, it was like they bought it from they bought like a grocery store that got, a good deal. And they're just like, this is what's going to happen. And part of like my journey this last year was I went to about 20 on sites, literally on sites with my clients to interview patients and do case study videos. And 30% of those people said it was my spouse or my partner or my friend who found this office because I told them what I had, or they've dealt with me dealing with what I've had and got sick of hearing the other side say there's no hope. So they're the research night owls who are like, I'm going to find, and like I said, that was me when I met my wife. I'm like, 2 days straight, fucking up on Adderall for 2 days straight. I'm going to fucking solve this shit for you right now.
Yeah.
And we solve that because we're taking those outcomes and every outcome becomes its own blog case study and then gets cultivated into a hub. So if you're a research night owl person, dude, chiropractic results is designed for you too. So whether you're the searcher, the seeker, or just the conversationer person, we're going to get you and we're going to help you find the right chiropractor. Here's the shitty part.
What is the shitty part? Yeah, because there's
Yeah,
typically a shitty part.
yeah, yeah. At some point, we're going to have some chiropractors not happy with us because we do have a review portion. And as we've grown this last 3 months, I just posted this the other day, the amount of negative reviews there. So in the summertime, we're releasing a second validation signal, and it's something we've been working on. My original and what we're on right now is we either tie in with either chiropractors have a free account or there's other tiers and they can log in and just load their results up. And the question was from early people was, well, how are you going to just stop someone from just fucking like this is like someone having access
Manipulating
to
the.
yeah, manipulating the things. And it's like really great question. Algorithms, just like the review algorithms, you know, we stop. I have a clinic in Denver who's been turned off because every fucking thing they put in was 100%. I said, dude, this doesn't even apply. This doesn't make sense. Our algorithm has already flagged it 3 times that this does not seem valid. So we have built an algorithm in there. We have a vetted validation signal. The other thing is that its storage meets demand. So we do have to charge for this because it's storage on it, all this is data and storage and it costs. The second thing is to give validation and verification is legally, at least in the United States. I don't know what the laws are over in the UK, but you can't manipulate your EHR. Like you can't manipulate your notes.
Meaning a patient came in with sciatica, and 6 weeks later we take the outcomes, and it's like 25% better.
Yeah, whatever your notes were, because if you get called into court for disposition, like your notes are pulled, and they need to see that there's when you get sued as a doctor. So legally, like if you go to any of the HRs, you can't manipulate and go backwards into notes. That's part of our validation signal. So part of being on a premium or a higher tier level account is we tack into your EHR through different plugins and different SaaS that we've built. And that's another validation signal. So and then we have a board of advisors. So we have 3 levels of validation. The reality is that in the summertime, this is going to be really increasing, is that because we're seeing the people using our platform more like consumers, is we're creating the validation signal for patients to also validate their reviews or their results and tie it with reviews. Well, the reality is we just had 2 this month that we had to put from a patient perspective that was like, dude, I didn't get any, like it was horrible. It was, and we had to validate with that doctor and we put that on there. So we're not going to hide from bad results. And just like Yelp shouldn't hide from good reviews because it was the polar opposite of what Yelp was doing back in the day. It was, we'll manipulate the reviews, you pay us, which they went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, you can do whatever the fuck you want with this data. And yeah, dude.
That's
So
so interesting.
we're gonna have docs. I'm already predicting it. And I say bring it on, who are gonna be like, fuck these guys at chiropractic results. They've hurt my practice because my results are bad and they're showing them from what
But
patients are saying.
but yeah,
Yeah.
this is, I mean, you've just like this, my mind is going at 20 different places at least. So, so what does that look like in the next, let's assume chiropractic results continues growing and scaling and it's improving and gets better and better and you're hopefully like doing an amazing thing for the profession and patients. What does that look like for, like, do you have some sort of competitive, like, can you have more than one clinic in the same town using, you know, like this kind of,
You can. We have three tier levels. We have four tier levels. One is freemium. You can get up to 12. You can put 12 results. That's the storage capacity. You want to delete two of them and enter two new ones and index for those. You can do whatever that's yours. But by then we reach a storage capacity. Then we have a what we call standard utility, which is just unlimited results. So you manually have to enter them. What came to us in the summertime with our testers was, dude, this is awesome. Is there any way we can speed up? And as we were trying to build, and we hired a guy who worked for Bank of America, who is our AI compliance officer.
Mhm.
And his job, I paid him he's getting 500,000 this year alone, just in base, to keep us compliant with AI because this is all the Wild West. I don't want them to not trust our signals. I also want to make sure that our stuff that we're doing is helping to
Them being large language models.
yes,
Got you.
all the models out there that we have a specific role that's just our AI compliance officer. And his validation by earlier this year was like, yeah, build the SaaS. Let's build the SaaS for this to connect, and then that will also we win two things: speeding up results and making and removing friction and no work. Which there's three things you can do in business: make money, save money, and make someone's life easier. If you can do all three, you hit the gold mine, right? And so check the boxes first. Oh, also it helps us with AI compliance and trust signals and validation signals because we can put in our data methodology that we're hooked up with the HRs, which they cannot manipulate their notes. So what comes in and goes out is the truth, or it should be.
Should be, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so I think that like then we have a hype account, and hype was just the last piece of the puzzle. It was taking all my marketing stuff I'd done for years, and I said, look, if Yelp had done this, this would have been smart years ago. And I think they're starting to do it now, actually. But basically, we're going to take your account and we'll be exclusive in your. So you can have as many people in Austin, Texas, but I have one hype account in Austin, Texas, meaning it's the only account we run ads for. And we run top of mind awareness ads on Meta, YouTube, and billboard advertising. We're not doing lead stuff. We did just add, and we're testing out on-page conversions with what we call results assurance, which is basically a risk reversal for the consumer through us. If you're not satisfied with your results, you went through a program, we'll give you a $500 credit to use with another chiropractic results provider. So we can have multiple in multiple areas. We don't do hype, only one in one town because that's an advertising model, and I don't feel that's fair
Hmm. Hmm.
in an advertising space. But at the end of the day, dude, here's the kicker. I sounded like a fucking AI. You start talking like you're an AI engineer.
Silently, quietly building in the background.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Here's the spoiler alert. Um, the,
Here is
the
the kicker.
the people that get great results. This is ultimately what has always fueled chiropractic. At the end of the day, they're gonna be the ones that shine. There are great practitioners out there that can't market their practice and never have been able to because they're great artists.
I feel, I never know what's going to happen to these guys. I want them to win because they are
If
amazing.
they don't know how to control internal referrals, they're fucked. Um, but in the way that referral marketing has changed, this is referral marketing. You can't deny that because when chat ranks you, recommends you, OpenAI, Perplexity, Grok, Gemini, which is again the most important one right now, dude, you you need to understand that that is now just as valuable or more valuable than going into a Facebook community group and asking who the best chiropractor is in your local town and getting all the signals from, because we're the trifecta now. I'm gonna validate it through online reviews. I'm gonna ask around and I'm gonna do my due diligence. Oh, and shit, chat's verifying this.
Doing it all for us. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it, man.
Well, if my like grandparents are starting to use ChatGPT for their search engine, I just know it's going to hit us hard if we're not prepared. We actually spend the
Oh,
last,
yeah.
I don't know, maybe 8 weeks optimizing our couple of our landing pages on the website to be much more simple, answer-driven framework
Yes.
type of language. So, for example, it wasn't like optimize your health. It was like reduce pain, improve movement, best local chiropractor in
Yep.
Essex. And we've already seen the organic
Yeah,
conversions in.
you can do a lot yourself. The scale is going to be the challenge down the road for a lot of, because everyone, so you're ahead of the game with doing that style, right? And then everyone catches up. What's going to be this is my bet on chiropractic result and ultimately outcome atlas. So like just so people know, we're definitely getting into other, we've already started with other channels. So it's not just chiropractic results. The
Mhm.
actual main company is called Outcome Atlas. Going to keep that chiropractic branding in there for the big picture. But med spas, dentists, other types of doctors. I've already had neurosurgeons reaching out to me. I'm
Wow.
speaking at a dental conference in October about this. Um,
Dude, and you're fired up. I can tell you're
yeah.
so excited about this.
Well, dude, when you finally get on, like it's a culmination of this is the culmination of San Francisco to the last 10, 15 years, and so yeah, and I mean it's changed my life where I'm like, okay, I got to be a big boy and CEO. No more drugs, no more alcohol, no
Yeah, I've
more
seen you've
having
had a
fun.
haircut. Look
Yeah.
at you. You're like rebranding, hey?
Yeah, and Twisty is dying, and Tristan El Shab is coming alive. So
Oh, I'll remove that from the show notes.
it's no, dude. Twisty's still good, man. You got to have a little Twisty in your life, but not too much Twisty. And so, hey, this is fun, man. I gotta get. I'm so sorry. I talk my. And I'm not even on Adderall, man. Look at that. Like you can just go on forever without. Just naturally, fucking on blow. So,
Yeah, I don't think you need
um,
anything else.
hey, man, it was great jamming with you, and I love what you're doing. The UK is behind. I always said this years ago when we were running Google Ads. I was like, "Holy shit, this is a gold mine," because no one was doing it. It was like a fraction of it was pennies on the dollar what people were doing, and because no one was doing it. But you have some really great practitioners over there that have learned and gone to school in Spain and gone to some of the institutions that I love over there that are great providers. So, keep helping your people, man. Keep helping them grow, dude. You know.
Appreciate that, sir. Thank you so much for your time as well.
Hey,
We'll make sure
brother,
that
let's jam again. Let's get you on the spiz and I'll counteract this. So let me coordinate with you. I'll get you on a spiz Twisted
let's do
Toast
it.
podcast and I'll shut the fuck up and listen to you.
Don't be silly. Thank you so much, sir. Really, really appreciate that, guys. Hope you enjoy this. And I'll have to rewatch this because there was so much value dropped in there without me even realizing.
Brother, we'll jam later, man. Thanks, dude. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye.